Well, there you go, folks. 7 minutes past 8 in Queensland. Obviously, it's 7 minutes past 11. And whilst our good friends in the hello, yeah, in the UK have had an influence in our audio preparation tonight, and you can hear her laughing. So it's welcome to what did you say? Operation Mark Two, yeah, with Katharine Kinnie, and of course, two is an important number. Well, I have to say it should be three because there's three of us here tonight. So we've had some fun behind the scenes, I've got to tell you. Anyway, Andrena, you better take it away.
Uh, Hello, everyone. Take two. um, I've been the cause of the problem, would you believe? It's been my end all the time. And when we did the broadcast, I didn't have any echoes at all. But anyway, I'm glad it's better now. And I have to wear these things, which I'll do my best to I'll do my best to address. But anyway, it is my great pleasure to welcome my lovely soul sister, Katharine Kinnie, who is from England but now lives in Australia. And she's the Cosmic Queen of Numbers, Cosmic with a K. Um, we, we've just had so many funny things going on here, and, and I've been saying it's this Australia, it's nothing to do with me. Anyway, we needed some more humour. Numbers. How many people know what their life path number is? I'm a 9, Catherine's a 9, my sister's a 9, my daughter's a 9, my granddaughter's a 9, a couple of close friends are 9. So it's like when you meet your own frequency of a 9, you just know that connection. So there's quite a few things I want to ask you, Katharine, today, and I know I've already spoke about some of them earlier. So for those of you that don't know how to work out your numbers, you add up across, like for example, today's a number 8 day, so it's a 2 3, a 6, a 2 2, and a 6, which adds up to an 8. So I know bits and pieces of numbers, and I would also like to ask about living in places because I'm a number 9, and where I lived in Ulverston was a number 9, which I loved. My son lives in Bourne End. I love it up there. That's a number 9. Poole is a number 9. So one of the questions would be is, if I move somewhere else, is the 9 the best place for me to live, or does it, if I was a number 5, I know 5 is about heart, movement, change, travel. That be a place where I live, and then I'm coming and going from that place. So, without any further waffling on, I'm going to hand it over to you to give us an explanation about numbers. And then, if anybody's got anything they'd like to know, feel free to put a message in. So, welcome, my lovely sister, Katharine.
Thanks, Andrena. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, both of you. So lovely to be here with you. Yeah, numbers. There's so much that I can say. Is there anywhere that you'd like to kind of start in
Well,
particular?
I want, because, like, you've got soul path, life path, this path, that path. There's lots of different paths, because I know all mine are mostly 9s. So what would be the best number to find out? Would it be people's to find out what their life path would be to be a starter?
Yeah, that's the quickest and easiest place to start, because it's the easiest calculation to make. So we have 5 major numbers in our blueprint, and the first number is our life path, and we calculate that by adding all of the numbers in our date of birth together. So me, for example, I was born on the 2nd of November, 1980. So we do 2 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 9 plus 8 plus 0. And that equals 22. So I think you said I'm a 9 life path. I'm a 22 life path.
Oh, beg your pardon.
That's all right, darling. It's fine. And then for you, for example, well, we know that you were born on an 1111 portal, and you were born, I'm just trying to check.
Oh God, don't.
1949. But, you know,
really?
it will take a few decades.
It's only a number on paper, folks.
Just, it's all numbers, right? Just numbers. Oh my God, you're so funny. I've got to acknowledge that you fully just did the best snort. Jess is shaking.
I don't normally do that. I'm getting a bit warm here now.
You're so funny. I just want to say we're in a 3 universal month. And the 3 is all about fun and laughter and play and joking and not taking life too seriously, which is pretty much what we've been doing for like the last hour as we've been trying to set everything up with the transmission. So I just want to acknowledge that 3 frequency because it's really present. It's really, really present. Karen's saying she's a 5 life path. Jeff's a 5 life path as well. So to calculate your life path, Andrena, we take your date of birth. So we add the 1 and the 1 from the first 11, the 1 and the 1 from the second 11, and then we add the 1 and the 9 and the 4 and the 9 from the year that you were born. And we add all of those numbers together until we get your life path. And so for you, those numbers total 27. So all the numbers in your date of birth total 27, and then 2 + 7 is 9. So that's how we calculate you. And then for Jeff, so Jeff's birthday, Jeff arrived on the 27th of the 11th, which is interesting, arrived in the 11th month in 1956. So when we add all of the numbers in Jeff's life path together, we get 32, and 3 + 2 is 5. So Jeff's a 5 life path. And so the 9 life path is the frequency of the compassionate humanitarian. It's a frequency of kindness, compassion, altruism, philanthropy. But it also can be associated with like death, trauma, endings, closure, completion, tragedy, forgiveness, gratitude. So sometimes people with 9s in their blueprint, they might have, slightly more challenging experiences than others, or they might bear witness to quite a lot of suffering. And that's so that people with the 9s can practice more unconditional love, more kindness, more forgiveness. And then with Jeff's a 5 life path, and the 5 is the frequency of the free-spirited adventurer. So it's a very, very carefree, vicarious frequency, and it's associated with change. So, the 9s are like the unconditional love spreaders of the new earth, and the 5s are the change agents and the custodians of change, the chaperones of change. And our life path is the central theme of our life. So if our life were a book or a movie or a play, it would be the plot. And so, our life path are the key themes through which our soul is remembering who we are, where we're from, and why we're here. So Jeff will be, all the big themes in Jeff's life. Every time Jeff's experiencing change, transformation, any form of evolution, or he's traveling, and it might be multidimensional traveling. It can be physically traveling, or it can be traveling through time and space. Jeff will be remembering more about who he is, where he's from, why he's here. And with you, Andrena, every time you're experiencing an opportunity to practice unconditional love, kindness, compassion, or you're witnessing death, or you're, witnessing or experiencing suffering in some way, shape, or form, you're remembering more about who you are, so to speak. So those are some of the, that's a way to understand and interpret the meaning of the life path, and just a couple of those numbers, so to speak.
Okay. So do you want to just give a quick brief on the other numbers, like for those that listen that are a 1, and that would be great.
Yep. So the one is so it's interesting actually. People that I know that are one life paths, they will sometimes struggle with like loneliness or solitude.
Mm.
The shadow of the one can be that, and that's not limited to the life path. Like I'm a one heart's desire, and the shadow of the one can be abandonment. But I've noticed that some people that are one life path, sometimes they struggle in relationships because it's quite an independent energy and an independent frequency. And again, the life path is the themes through which we're remembering. So the one life path remember more about who they are, where they're from, and why they're here when they're by themselves, or when they're doing things by themselves, or when they're initiating things or leading things or birthing things, because those are the themes of the one. The themes of the two: peace, calm, balance, tranquility, calm, equality, friendships, partnerships, relationships, collaboration, co-creation. So the two life paths will be remembering more about who they are, where they are from, and why they're here through those themes. I'm a 22 life path. So again, relationships, the remembrance through relationships and friendships, really big for me in this lifetime. The 3 is all about self-expression and creativity, happiness, joy, fun, play, and also communication and truth, speaking truth, story, and using our bodies, creatively. And it can also, the shadow of it can be sadness, depression, the antithesis of truth, which can be lies. So those are some of the key themes. A lot of people that I come across that are 3 life paths, they have truths to speak. They have stories to tell. And it depends whether they've got 3s elsewhere in their blueprint, but sometimes they can struggle with communication. It depends. If they don't have 3s, sometimes they can struggle with that, and they're here to master that in this lifetime. The life path is also what we're here to master. The 4 is connected to like the grounded builder, the grounded weaver. So it's a frequency associated with action, taking action, making things happen. It's a very structured, orderly, ducks in a row energy and frequency. The shadow of it can be extreme rigidity, or being too boundaried, or limiting yourself too much and having too much structure, because the 5 sits right next to it, and the 5's the opposite. The 3 and the 5 sit between the 4. The 3 is, creativity, and the 5 is freedom and spontaneity and, going with the flow, expecting the unexpected. 5s generally find it pretty easy to go with the flow. It depends what else is in their blueprint. But they're very adventurous, and they're risk takers as well. The 5s, they're not frightened to take risks. And they're here to remind us all of the importance of letting go and, not being too structured and too orderly. And then the 6 is all about family, home, children, the mother, the father, the husband, the wife, domesticity, community, ceremony, health and well-being, and the fact that we can use plants for optimal health. The 7 is the curious, truth-seeking energy. So people that are 7 life paths, they're very much interested in information, and they're very curious. They like to ask questions. The 8's associated with abundance, money, finances, and business, the law, legal affairs, and the LORE. We've covered the 9. The 11 is the more spiritual, cosmic frequency associated with the 1 and the 2. So they're like inspirational leaders and spiritual guides. And they're here to kind of activate and illuminate things and people. It's also associated with psychic abilities, clairvoyant abilities, light language, mediumship, multidimensional connectivity. The 22 is the dream weaving frequency, and it's associated with the co-creation of heaven on earth, divine union, sacred geometry. And the 33 is like the cosmic parent, the cosmic loving caregiver, And it's where you've got things like sound healing, the 33, or art therapy, and how we can use our creativity to spread positivity, happiness, and joy for our health and well-being within our families, in our homes, and within our community. So that's just a top level run of, numbers 1 to 9 and 11 to 33.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. So, and I know people can listen to their number and make notes if they want. So when you talk about a blueprint, like obviously people can message you and have a session with you and find out what. So when you say the blueprint, because I know it's like, was it 9 boxes with, is it, because I haven't got my chart at hand, but what am I trying to say here? With the blueprint, so you've got your numbers in, like your life path, soul path, and all of that. Because for me, being all 9s, because some people say, well, if you haven't got this number in your chart and you haven't got this, well, how does that help me when I haven't got any of these numbers in the chart?
Mm-hmm.
So does that say, or for other people, if they've got the same thing?
Yep. And this was a question that came up just in the Cosmic Numerology Level 1 Zoom course that I just taught, and we were talking about this. So there are 5 major numbers in our blueprint. There's our life path, which comes from our date of birth, and this is the key themes in our life. There's our expression number, which comes from all the letters in our name. This is where our unique gifts, talents, and abilities lie. There's our heart's desire and soul's urge, which comes from the vowels, and this is what we're passionate about. There's our personality number, which comes from the consonants, and this is the role that we've come here to play and how people see us first and foremost before they get to know us more deeply in the other numbers. And then there's our divine soul's purpose, which is calculated by adding our life path and our expression together. And this is our ultimate reason for being on the planet. Now, like you said, you've got a very special and unique blueprint. And I think, I definitely, of the thousands and thousands of people that I've read for and taught, your blueprint is unique. I've never come across another blueprint like it.
That'd be
You're right. They're all 9s. Every single number in the blueprint is. In fact, there's one other lady I came across that I think I might have connected you with recently. She's got all 9s. The only difference is for you, your expression numbers are 99. So she's a bit like your numerology twin, so to speak. And she's working on land at the moment and planting lots of fruits and vegetables and fruit trees and things like that. And the 9 is connected to farming as well. And so there we go. There's someone who's a 9 life path. They were born on the 15th of February, 1954. So there we go. There's a 9. So we know that there's lots of 9s there for you. But to answer your question, respond to your question, the power of numerology for me, and this is one of the main reasons that Pythagoras taught numerology. So cosmic numerology is based on Pythagorean numerology. It's a brand new modality that I'm bringing through with guidance from Pythagoras. But the main reason that he taught numerology at his School of Mathematics in Crotone in Italy was to teach wholeness and to teach balance. That was the main reason above all. And so the motto of his school, the School of Mathematics, was all is number. So he basically, taught numerology and mathematics to give meaning to the seeming chaos that is the universe, the metaverses, the cosmos. And, even the word cosmos means order through chaos. And so he used numbers to bring order to life. And this is one of the gifts, one of the huge gifts that numerology has brought to my life. I definitely would be suffering from a few bits and pieces up here if it wasn't for numerology. And I'm not entirely sure whether I'd still be on the planet if it wasn't for numerology, because it helps me, and I find it helps lots of people have a better understanding of who we are at a soul level and why certain things happen and why we have experiences and why we're drawn to certain things or have certain tendencies or specific gifts. But it can also explain where we're not so strong. And so all the numbers that are in our blueprint, they're familiar to us. And so for you, Andrena, the 9, you love the 9 so much. I was talking about you in the class, actually, one of the classes. And whenever there's a 9 universal day, so many times you'll be like, oh, it's a 9. I can feel it. I can feel it in my bones. It's a 9.
What's happening over there?
Well, I've been crying all day. Yesterday I was crying all day. It was a 9 day.
It's a 9 day tomorrow, but is it a 9 day for you now?
It's a 9 day tomorrow.
You're still in the night.
But like I said, we start to feel the frequency of the following day from midday. And it's a 936 portal tomorrow. It's a 9 universal day, 3 universal month, 6 universal year. And, it took us an hour to get everything going today. And I was, even when I was trying to say there's interference, you couldn't even hear me say that. And one of the things that the 9 can do is it can interfere with things. Like it can screw things up. Like it's a
oh dear.
It's quite there's Jeff with his eyes. But also the 9 sits very closely to the 11. So the 9 is the last mortal number. I refer to the mortal numbers between 1 and 9. It's the last mortal number before we get to the master numbers. And so the first master number is an 11, and it's a frequency of technology. And you're still leaning into your master number 99, Andrena. We're still activating it. You didn't even want to wear your little headphones.
No, I don't like them. It's horrible. But
but because you didn't want to wear them, Jeff and I were getting crazy echo.
I've never worn. This is the first time I've worn these things. I've never worn.
Well, there we go. We're bringing you into the 21st century dream.
Oh God!
Are we going to explain to the audience what the problem was? What the issue?
You carry on. Yes.
Well, the issue happened to be in the Northern Hemisphere. I think that's as far as we're going to go. All right.
There's always one.
Katharine?
But just to fully answer your question, Dream. So we know that you've got lots of 9s and you love the 9, and the 9 is very present for you in this lifetime. You are a phenomenal beacon and way shower and representation of everything that is awesome and curious and funny and a bit jiggery pokery with the 9. But it also means that there are lots of other numbers that aren't present and that aren't so familiar or so front and center, which includes the 11, which is technology. And so, for me, what I will always say is, which is what Pythagoras would say, is all is number. And so it's really important to know our numbers and where we're strong and where we feel safe and everything's familiar. But it's also equally just as important to know what our blind spots are and to know the numbers that are not present. And so, for example, my partner, Jared, he's got all the numbers in his blueprint that I don't have. And I've got all the numbers that he doesn't have. So on paper, some people would say that is a nightmare waiting to happen. You guys, it's never going to be good between the two of you. But from where I sit, I would say I've got lots to learn from him. He's got lots to reflect to me, and vice versa. And yes, it might be really triggery. Yes, it might be very uncomfortable. Yes, it might feel very strange and unfamiliar when we're together or, in collaboration. But what I would also say is what's important is to also know what the relationship blueprint is. So, for every two people that come together, we can bring our blueprints together, and then we can see the numbers that are present, and a relationship blueprint can get created. So I give relationship and friendship blueprint readings as well. That's fascinating. That's like a whole nother topic, probably for another day. But, you know, that's interesting as well. But, you know, for me, I always get excited when I'm around people that have numbers that I don't have. But, you know, numbers also sometimes terrify me. So like the fives, for example, I don't have a 5 in my blueprint. The fives bake my noodle. They're so unpredictable. They're really unpredictable. The 9s sometimes will just screw things up or like derail.
Can we just mute him a minute? Excuse me, Mr. Unpredictable.
Oh my God.
So for me, I mean, just being here with you guys, a 9 and a 5 life path, and I just, you know, and the 22's patient. So I knew that I just needed to sit and be patient whilst we worked it out.
Can I just flip back, because you say 11's technology, and like, because I'm an 11, does that mean that I have a double whammy with technology? Because I do.
Well, here's the interest. Oh, there's Lisbeth. Hi, Lisbeth. She's one of my followers. She loves numerology. So, okay, so the fact that you were born in an 1111 portal, a surface portal, 1111 surface portal, that means that your first 2 life cycles are 11s, because our first life cycle comes from the month that we're born. So, Jeff, your first life cycle would have been 11 as well. And then the second life cycle comes from the day that we were born. And so my first life cycle was an 11 as well. So we were all born in November.
Yeah.
And then the third life cycle comes from the year that we were born. And you decode that by adding all the numbers together in your year of birth. So I was actually born in a 9 universal year. So my last life cycle is going to be a 9. But to answer your question, Andrena, these are themes. These are key themes. So, you know, the numbers in our blueprint are more connected to us as a human and at a soul level. And again, the expression numbers where our gifts lie. So if you were an 11 expression, that's where your gifts would lie. But what's interesting is you're a 99/9, but I feel you're still making the journey from the 9 into the 99, and the bridge is the 11. The bridge is the bridge between our mortal numbers and any master number is the 9. And so sometimes we've got to go through deaths or endings or closure or completion or letting go or resistance, letting go of resistance, to embrace the number 11, which again, is a technological frequency, so that then we can tap into other master numbers that we might have in our blueprint. Now, there are many numerologists on the planet, Dream, that would not acknowledge you as a 99 expression. Most numerologists would acknowledge you as a 9, but Cosmic Numerology acknowledges all master numbers between 11 and 99. And that's what makes it different. And that's what Pythagoras has told me. Most numerologists only acknowledge master numbers 11, 22, 33. So for you, there have been these big key themes of the 11, but I don't think you fully got the memo. And I think that's why you've drawn in someone like me and even Jeff, for example. I'm an 11 personality. And you know me, I love technology. Technology is my friend. Jeff is an 11 soul's purpose. So a huge part of Jeff's purpose is connected to technology. So what can happen is those of us with master numbers, if we're not fully activated in them, we will draw people into our lives to help us activate into them, especially the 11s, because the 11 is the really, really important number that we have to anchor and embody and activate before we can embody any other master numbers if they happen to be present in our blueprint. If that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it's just amazing. But yeah, so So if I'm out and about, and then I can say, "What's your life path number?" And then I think, "Well, I'll have a bit of. I'll talk to you. I'll have a bit of number 1, and I'll have a bit of number 2."
Yep. Yeah. And that's the really cool thing about numbers. This is why I love knowing the numbers of all the special people in my life, all the people that are close to me, because I can better understand them at a soul level, but I also know why they're in my life, what they're here to reflect to me, what they're here to show me. Like every single person in the last course that I taught, they all had 8s. Every single person had an 8 in their blueprint. Which is fascinating for me because I don't hold an 8 in my blueprint. So it's not so familiar to me. And I spent a lot of my life being terrified of the 8 frequency because it is a very powerful energy. It's a powerful frequency. And even some of my students and some of the people I give readings to, and I acknowledge that they're an 8 expression or an 8 personality. And they're like, yeah, people are terrified of me sometimes. Sometimes they're really scared of me. And I don't know why. And I'm like, the 8 can come across as pretty strong or pretty bold or pretty intense. And I mean, I always refer to Jared's resting chief face because the 8 is a chief energy. And sometimes I can be looking at him and he'll look at me in a certain way and I'll just think like, oh my God, something really bad's going to happen. Or like, it looks like he wants to kill me. And he'll be thinking about like fluffy kittens or something, or like what he's going to have for dinner. And that can be an 8 thing. One of my students, she said sometimes she's at work and people are like, you look really intense today. It looks like something really bad's going to happen. She's like, no, I'm good. I'm fine. And she's an 8 personality. Fascinating.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Because of numerology, I'm not so scared of 8. Sorry, Jeff, I just spoke.
How did she get this, Elizabeth? How did she get born 44, 11, 11? What's the go?
So Lisbeth has 2 4s and 2 11s in her blueprint.
What's her date of birth then?
I don't know. Lisbeth, do you want to remind us what your date of birth is? But I know that of the 5 numbers, she's got 2 4s and 2 11s. There we go. Karen's saying, I love the number 8. No idea if it's one of my numbers. Now, what I would say, Karen, on that is that sometimes, or actually more often than not, if we love a particular number or we're drawn to a particular number, there you go. There's Lisbeth's date of birth, Jeff. It's more than likely that that number will be in our blueprint somewhere. So I would put money, Karen, on you having an 8 somewhere in your blueprint. I mean, I've always loved the number 2. And it's interesting because I was born on the 2nd and I was born in the 11th month. 1 + 1 is 2. And I'm a 22 life path and I'm an 11-2 personality. So the number 2 is really important for me in this lifetime.
But all 3 of us are 2s, aren't we? You know,
we've all got 11s somewhere in our blueprint or in our date of birth. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Right. Can I ask about places to live? So is it the same sort of like me being a 9? I love Poole, which adds up to a 9. I lived in Ulverston, which adds up to a 9. My son lives in Bourne End, which adds up to a 9. So these are all places that I love. And I said to you that I love going to Sandbanks, which you said was a 22 master number. And I thought, God, that makes sense because I'm always going over that way. So if I, just for example, I put in Corf and added up to a 3, how would that be good for me? Do you look at, right, if I move to somewhere that adds up to a 1, that works out similar to what you've shared about, 1 leads a lonely path. So just say it added up to a 1, that could be a lonely place for me to live on, is that how it works?
Yeah. So, and we just covered this in the course as well. So there were lots of people asking about this. Well, I remember you lived in Suffolk Park and that's a 1. And I knew that when you were there, that was going to be very activational for your independence and just being by yourself and spending time by yourself. And I've found that whenever I'm in Suffolk Park, and I'm drawn to Suffolk Park quite a lot, which is, no, I haven't written a book yet, Karen, but I have started writing a book. I need the time and the space and the money, actually. But it will be on its way, and an app as well. But thanks for asking, Karen. Yeah. So going back to what you were saying, Andrena. So, and I did mention this in the course, it can be very harmonious, and we can feel very, very at home if we're living somewhere where the numbers are in alignment with the numbers in our blueprint. So for example, I'm living in Mullumbimby. It's a 44 frequency, and the address that I'm living at is number 48. 4 plus 8 is 12. 1 plus 2 is 3. I'm a 3 expression. So that's very harmonious for me. And the road is a 4 frequency. I'm a 22-4 life path. So this address is actually very harmonious for my blueprint, for me living here. But at the same time, there is merit in living in places where the numerology is not the same as our blueprint, because it can be activational for the numbers that are not present. So for example, last year was a 5 universal year, 2021. And I could not escape the 5. Even when I wasn't living in the van with Jared, I was living at addresses that had 5s or 55s. And, for me, I normally do my best to surrender to the place where I'm drawn to, where I end up, and trust that the numbers or the numerology is there to support me, for example. So what I would say is we can use numerology to, make decisions about where to stay. We can use it to understand why we're drawn to a particular place. And we can also use the numerology to understand why we end up in a certain place and the merit of being in that place. So, I lived in Brunswick Heads in 2020 for 6 months, and it was number 18, which is a 9. And the road was a 9. And I knew moving there that there was going to be a lot of karmic stuff. There was going to be a lot of shifts and changes and deaths and endings and letting go as well. Jocelyn says, is it right that 9 being a completion number means that a 9 soul has learned all the lessons and won't be coming back after this lifetime? Not necessarily.
That's what I say. I'm not coming back.
Well, and I mean, at a soul level, we choose whether we want to come back. But what I would say, my understanding is that life path wise, after a 9 life path, we would have the choice to come back as an 11 and then come back as a 22 and come back as a 33. So what I would say is anyone that has had a 9 experience, the next time you come back, wherever that is in your blueprint, theoretically, you would come back, to experience a higher frequency or a higher number, so to speak. So an 11 or a master number, so to speak. So that, that for me would say that that person has perhaps learned everything that they needed to learn about that 9 frequency on planet Earth. But that if you did feel to come back, then, you would come back, in a higher class, so to speak, regarding life on Earth as school.
Yeah, because I was just thinking, I was trying to do it quickly, but I'm not making it. I'm trying to work out what Corf Mullen is, because this is where I've been.
Corf Mullen? How do you spell Corf Mullen, my love?
I spelled it C-O-R-F-E.
Corf. Corf is like the best word to say if you're from the West Country. Corf.
Yeah, I'm living in Corf Mullen. M-U-L-L-E-N. So it's C-O-R-F-E.
M-U-L-L-E-N.
E-N. Yeah, so I was trying to do it here quickly, but I couldn't concentrate and do both.
It's a 7. It's a 7. Yeah.
All right. So
Corf Mullen's a 7. Well, the 7 is, is a curious truth-seeking frequency. It's associated with numerology, metaphysics. Yeah. a perfect place to be, you know, chatting about, you know, things that are spiritual, metaphysical, esoteric, you know, and asking lots and lots of questions. That's the 7 frequency. It's a questioning energy.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Jeff's got the 7 as well. Jeff's a 7 personality based on his birth name. I've seen him doing the numbers and, you know, tapping things away. I can see the cogs turning. I'm sure his soul's like, 7s love this stuff. Oh, here's Corf Mullen.
This is where I'd be down here at the bottom.
There we go. And someone with a 5 and a 7 would absolutely be doing that 100%. You know, doing research and with the 11 as well, using technology to show where someone is. Yeah.
Yeah, not me. I tell you, when I put my sat nav on, I just say now I'm off on another mission, spreading love and light. So I end up in all sorts of places.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Hey, your mate brought up FM 88. So what's that numerology then?
Lisbeth, 88. That is
so
a master.
But I know 8 and 8 is 16 equals 7, but you take in the FM as well?
Oh, yeah, we could take in the FM as well. And it's interesting because you've got an 8 and a 7 in your birth blueprint, Jeff. So it's really interesting that you would be drawn to that master number as well. But let's look at...
Well, it's bingo, isn't it? Bingo. 2 fat ladies.
Yeah, we are playing bingo for sure. Well, you've got an 8, a 7, and an 11 in your blueprint, and all of those frequencies are held within the 88. Yeah. Okay. So let's see what the FM. So FM is, so F is a 6 and M is a 4, which totals 10. So 10 plus 88 would be 98, and 9 plus 8 is 17, which is an 8 frequency. So again, you're an 8 heart's desire, Jeff. You are an 8 heart's desire. So at a soul level, you would be very strongly drawn to the 8 frequency, numerologically speaking. Like it's what you're passionate about in here.
So you'd have to be calling in a number 8.
Well, yes and no. Yes and no. But he's at a soul level, he's a very strong, powerful being. Very, very, very strong.
Don't tell him that.
He's got chief. I can feel it. I can feel it. I can feel it. He's a very, very, very strong, powerful being who has a very strong connection to energy and the power of energy and chi, and, you know, how to work with it, play with it, cultivate it, channel it, because the 7 is connected to like energy channels. You know, it's like the meridians of the body. And so at a soul level, Jeff has a very good understanding of all of that stuff. And I mean, I remember when we came to your house and you had all the magical pyramid things set up and just, you know, energy and technology. And it was, you know, it was like a little energy portal. So yeah, this is one of the reasons why you would be drawn to the number 8 for sure. And that, you know, even when you include FM 88, which is a 98 frequency, 9 plus 8 is 8. So you still come back to the 8, which is, you know, not surprising to me, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah.
Because also 8s are also business mind, aren't they? And that I'll pass on that one. Yeah, I'm the hands-on. So anyway, but yeah, it's fascinating. Oops, just knocked my drink over.
Changing the subject, still with numbers. You get people coming up and saying, look at the clock and it's 11:11, or it's 22:22, or 3:33, or 4:44. Okay, so I mean that's taken us in a different direction in this conversation, but people do see numbers, don't they? And then there's some sort of focal point on that one, isn't it?
Yeah. So we just Yeah, we just covered this in the course. Sorry, Doreen, were you going to say something?
No, I was just going to say, all the time I see like 21, 21, 13, all the time. It's just constant, you know, like, whereas you used to sit now and again, now it's just like,
Yep.
Yeah, carry on. Sorry.
Yeah. So number synchronicities. So basically, numbers are energies and vibrational frequencies. And I mean, you'll both know this because you work with sound and you know and understand sound. And this was something that Pythagoras was fascinated by as well. Like the three main things that he loved and that he worked with were numbers, sound or music, and the vibrational frequency of sound, and planets and stuff that happened in the cosmos. And he was the first person to say that you could hear the sound of the planets, the music of the spheres. So coming back to what you were saying, Jeff, is that every number holds a vibrational frequency and it holds a theme. And so therefore it can hold a message in the same way. And you'll know this, especially during with animals and animal totems. So if animals show up frequently in our lives, we know that there's a message for us from that animal totem. It's the same with numbers. Numbers can have messages for us. And when we are seeing repeating number patterns or number synchronicities, especially through time or dates or registration plates or numbers that keep coming up or being mentioned, there are messages there for us. And when we know the meaning of the numbers, we can decode them, because numerology is like a universal, multi-dimensional language that we can all speak and we can all interpret. It doesn't matter what human language we speak. We all know, the meanings. We can all understand and tune into the meanings of specific numbers. There's a picture of Pythagoras there. And so, the 1111 frequency, a lot of people, that will be the sign of their awakening. It is referred to as the awakening code. The 11 frequency means awakening. It's the master of illumination. It's when things start to be illuminated. And the 1111 code is a way of illuminating and drawing our attention and our awareness to numbers and numerology. And a lot of people, will say, oh, I keep seeing 1111, or, I don't know what it means. And I'm like, it's drawing your attention to the numbers. And I mean, I even had one lady, I was living with her and a friend, and she was like, upset and angry and annoyed that certain numbers were following her around, the 333. And she's like, I don't know what it means. It's so annoying. And I'm like,
the stalker.
Hi. I can give you a reading if you like. And, I'm like, or you can study it. And what I would say is to anyone that is experiencing a lot of number patterns and number synchronicities, if you haven't had a reading or if you haven't looked into numerology, I can highly recommend it, because there's messages there. And some of us are more tuned into the numbers than others. And some of us are here to actually receive a lot of messages through the numbers. And so one of the other things that I would say is that it's a way for our higher self or our soul or our higher guides to communicate with us as well. So, if we are seeing number patterns that are repeating, whether it's 333 or 2222, like Jeff said, or, like you were saying, Dream, 1212, 2121, 911, it's a really great opportunity to have a reading if you don't know your numbers, or better still, study numerology, because one of my greatest joys and pleasures and passions in life, other than singing, is talking about numbers and teaching numbers, and, sacred geometries in there as well. But I love empowering people with this incredible knowledge and wisdom and understanding of this metaphysical science, so that we can better understand who we are at a soul level, decode the blueprints of our loved ones, our friends, our family, our children, our partners, our business partners, our co-workers, our clients, be able to decode addresses and play with numbers in that way, but also to be able to decode these number synchronicities and understand the messages that our higher self is giving to us, or our higher guides giving to us through numbers and through numerology. And we can decode every single number synchronicity very, very easily with numerology.
Right. I know Carol sees 66 over and over again, because we're going on, she's going 66, 66. I said, oh, for God's sake, choose some lottery numbers. So what is 66? Just out of
66 is a must. Oh, you right, Jeff?
I was going to say it's old, what do you call it? Doomsday Book, isn't it? 1066.
I don't know. That's new for me, but I would say it's a master number. And actually, speaking of sixes, that is the other number that is in Jeff's blueprint. Jeff's a 6 expression. So even though I now know that he's an 8 hearts desire and he's got like hardcore chief energy, and he's super powerful being, I also know that his numerological love language is very soft and squishy, and that he loves hugs and cuddles, and that he's a very, 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 very sweet. Yeah,
no, his love language is acts of service.
Well, yeah, the 6 is.
Oh, that's pretty innuendo, isn't it, on your face, isn't it?
So the 66 is the master freak, the 6 and the 3, because 6 plus 6 is 12 and 1 plus 2 is 3. So the 66 is like the 6 frequency turbocharged. So again, the 6 is connected to family, children, the husband, the wife, the mother, the father, domesticity, the home, community, ceremony, health and well-being. And it's also connected to the 3, which is positivity, happiness, joy, creativity, self-expression, truth, story. And the 66 is the more cosmic energy and the more cosmic frequency of that. So that's when you got connections to starseed family and the cosmic mother or father, the cosmic family. And the 66 is the frequency that is also connected to like the families of the new earth, the cosmic families of the new earth. Yeah, Elizabeth, we're in a 6th year. So we're all being bathed in this 6 energy, in this 6 frequency of 2022 as a family, a human family, as a collective. But I would say if the 66 is showing up, it's a reminder to, experience more joy within our family, be more playful, speak our truth, but, and also to connect with star family, starseed family, because we've got our blood family and our blood lineage, and then we've got our starseed family. And the way to find out from a numerological perspective, in a cosmic numerological perspective, who your Michael and Squishy Jeff in the streams. Love that.
I'm not going to let it down now.
Yeah.
I see you, Jeff. You've allowed me to see who you are. This is the amazing thing with numerology. We get to see people like naked, kind of at a soul level. We really get to see who someone is.
Michael Lamb, you come forth and you tell us. Yeah.
But one of the ways that we can acknowledge and see who our starseed family is, the people that we have very strong resonance is by decoding our numerology and our blueprints. And when we've got the same number in the same location, starseed family, we would have a familiarity with them in the same way we would have a familiarity with someone that is our blood family member, or maybe someone we went to school with, someone that we've had experiences with in this lifetime. But when we have the same number in the same location, or the same number as someone but in a different location, there'll be a resonance there. Now, that's not to say that, we should only hang out with people that have got the same numbers as us. No. I mean, we'd never hang out, Dreen, I've got no 9s and you're all 9s. But I know that we're in one another's lives for a reason. And again, sometimes I feel some of the most powerful activational experiences that we can have are with people who have completely different numbers to us, because they're here to remind us of the numbers that we don't have and the numbers that we're not so strong in. And with Jeff, for example, He's got 3 numbers in his blueprint that I don't have. So I would have a lot to learn from Jeff, or there would be a lot to be activated for me just by being in Jeff's presence or being, around him. And, vice versa. I've got some numbers that Jeff doesn't have. And lots of people on the planet have got numbers that Dream doesn't have. So
God, only numbers 1 to 8.
yeah, but it's all perfect, because we're all these wonderfully different and unique and specially original jigsaw piece puzzles. And, as Pythagoras says, we're all number, and we've all come here with, different life paths, different gifts, talents and abilities, roles, passions, purposes. And for me, where numerology is so important is when we are living in alignment with who we came here to be at a soul level, and we're connecting with other people that are in alignment. That's when we can all come together and weave this incredibly beautiful tapestry of, the co-creation of heaven on earth and life on earth, because you're being you, I'm being me, and we come together. And that's when we can fit. If we were all the same, there wouldn't be these spaces for us to come together and kind of like weave these beautiful, patchwork tapestry of life.
Yeah. And so, because we got the Solfeggio frequencies, which are 369 and 693, which are coming up, aren't they, this year? So, excuse me? What's so funny? Oh, God.
Hey, smart ass.
Yeah, so that's obviously another powerful day, isn't it? When you've got the 369 or the 693, or what's the other one? 369, 69, or 963, whatever.
Yep.
Because I think there's a few of them this year, isn't there? I think being the 6 months. Sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Dream. So this month we will have. So tomorrow is a 936 portal, and because we're in a 6 year, we will have those numbers coming, repeating in this 3 universal month and in the 9 universal months that we've got as well. And the 9 universal month is March, and the 9 universal month is December. Thanks, Michael. Lovely to have you with us. All the comments are so beautiful as well. And so it's really interesting that you've just mentioned that, Dream, because I had a message from my dear friend Morgan, who's connected with Todd Medina and the Soulology family. And she messaged me the other day and she shared these codes with me that had come through, these 4 codes that had come through that were connected to March, June, September, and December. Yeah. And as soon as I saw these codes, she was like, I don't know what they mean. I've got no idea. I'm just looking in my book to see if I can find them. Maybe I wrote them in another book. It's really weird. But as soon as I saw these codes, they were all 9s and 3s. Like the first code was 3993696. The next code was 69393696. But they were just 3s and 6s and 9s. As soon as I saw them, I decoded them. We had an hour-long conversation last night about it. And even as we were talking, I just thought this morning, I probably need to do a Facebook Live with Morgan to talk about this, because what you've just said there, Dream, I have information on that. Morgan and I have more information on that.
Brilliant.
So even the fact that you've mentioned that, I'm going to take action now on the thought that I had in my meditation. I'm going to message Morgan and I'm just going to ask if she wants to do a Facebook Live about those codes, because she's like, I don't do numbers, but they came through. And she said, I knew I needed to message you and ask you what they meant. And as soon as I saw them, I knew. And it's connected to the new Holy Trinity. It's connected to the new Holy Trinity, which is the Holy Mother, the Holy Father, the Holy Child, the Divine Mother, the Divine Father, the Divine Child. And that started to get anchored in 2019, which was a 3 universal year. And Saint Anastasia came to me at the end of that year, and she gave me a lot of information about it. And I feel like I'm going to share that in a separate transmission with Morgan. So thank you for mentioning the solfeggio frequencies.
No, I keep meaning to say, I must say about the solfeggio, because you know, it's really important. So
I've got that prompt.
Yeah. Talking about totem animals, 2 days ago I come into the farm. Now when I come into the farm, I have to go through 3 great big gates, in and out, you know, all the way round. And as I came in to the last gate, I saw this deer, and it ran across and it stopped, and then it was aware that I was there, and it looked at me, and I didn't move a muscle, so we just looked at each other, and then off it went. And then when I came back later in the day, it was at this end of the farm, and again it looked at me, and I looked at it, and I didn't move a muscle. And then it disappeared. And it's funny, it was exactly when I came in, exactly when I came out, that deer appeared to me. So just share that little bit of information.
Yeah. And that deer will have a message for you. So I know that you're very connected with the totems. And it's interesting, a friend of mine, he's in Scotland at the moment, and he had a very similar experience. You know, he's been having experiences with deers. And so, you know, for me, it's the same with numbers. If an animal or a number keeps coming to you and is showing up, it will keep coming to you, and it will keep showing up until you've decoded that message.
Now, I saw previously Andrew flashed up, and he said nobody'd seen his message or something. So what do we need to answer
he
for
was
Andrew?
Asking about the 11, I think.
And the shadow. I think he wanted to know what his shadow.
Yeah. Yep, I can talk about that. Yeah, there we go. The shadow of the 11. So the 11 is associated with the twin flame experience. So I don't subscribe to the belief that we have one single twin flame partner. The way that I understand the 11 frequency, the way I teach it, decode it, explain it in readings, is that it's an energy and a frequency that we can experience with any human or any soul or any being, even animals or non-physical human beings, but it is an activational energy. So the shadow of the 11 can be being triggered, and especially triggered by the light. So those of us that hold 11s or master numbers, but especially 11, sometimes we can trigger other people just by being near them or being around them. I know this is true for you, Dreen, without even doing anything. And people can attack us, or people can throw stuff at us or project. And that's what can happen, because it's a mirror energy. The 11 and anyone that holds a master number, we have the ability to mirror things. So if we're around people that can't handle what we're showing to them, or especially our light, sometimes they will project or they will attack us. So that's one of the shadow aspects of the 11. And it can be quite uncomfortable for people, because they want to point the finger of blame. But as Uncle Bob would say, whenever there's a finger pointing at someone, there's always 3 pointing back at us.
Yeah.
So I don't even really get that affected or bothered when people are projecting or are triggered by me anymore.
No.
I just love them unconditionally, forgive them, practice Kanyini, and just trust that at some point, hopefully, they will realize or remember that it's not actually me, and that whatever they're upset about, you know, especially if it's to do with the light. I mean, you know, that's not me saying that, you know, if someone's upset with me, I've never done anything wrong.
Yeah.
But sometimes, especially if it's to do with things that I'm passionate about, like my veganism, sometimes that will trigger people. And I'm not a preachy vegan. I just eat plant-based food, and I just keep to myself. I'm not one of those. But sometimes just my presence, like, you know, I was at a wedding once, and sometimes people will feel the need to talk to me about why they eat meat.
Yeah.
I'm not that bothered. Like, if people want to eat meat, they can eat meat. But they see what I'm eating, or they're like, oh, you've got the vegan meal. And then they'll just start validating why they eat meat. And I'm like, that's okay. Like, I'm just over here.
No drama.
Yeah. So, you know, knowing that I'm an 11 personality and that I have an 11 in my blueprint has actually helped me understand and acknowledge why so many people have been triggered around me in my life. And I mean, I've even got some people. I met a beautiful sister at Uluru. She's got a 22 in her blueprint, and she was the first person that actually openly acknowledged and owned how triggered she felt when she was around me. She said, even when I walk towards you, there's stuff that is going on in my body. She's like, I'll be feeling physically sick, or I can feel energy moving in my body. She's like, when I move away from you, it goes. When I get closer to you, I can feel myself triggered. And she's like, sometimes I just want to say mean things. And she's like, I'm not going to, but she's like, I'm very aware of how triggered I can get when I'm in your presence. I'm like, thanks for telling me that. Thanks for sharing it with me. I'm grateful. And she's like, it's not anything you're doing. And I'm like, okay. So one other thing I would say, Andrew, about the shadow of the 11, it's the runner chaser energy. So what can happen is, you know, with that twin flame, is that we can be drawn to the light. We can be drawn to people that hold that 11 or hold master numbers. And it just doesn't have to be people that hold master numbers. We can be drawn to someone, but if the 11 is at play, we can then be repelled, or we can run away because it's too much. It's too intense. Especially with the 11, the light can be too intense, but equally, you know, that 11 energy can play out with other numbers as well. Like, we can be repelled by people that hold 4s and are really big on commitment if we're frightened of commitment. You know, we can be repelled from the 5s if we don't want to be having adventures all the time and we want to be, you know, more grounded, so to speak. And the other thing that I would say about the 11 is it can, one of the shadows of the 11 can be a ghosting energy, you know, so people can kind of appear and disappear, so to speak. One of the gifts of the 11 is invisibility. We have the ability to actually disappear. It's a unicorn energy. People only that believe in unicorns can see unicorns. And so it can be a ghosting energy and frequency. I wouldn't say it's necessarily the shadow, but people can appear and disappear quite quickly and easily. And there was one other thing that I wanted to talk about with the shadow of the 11, and it's gone, and it's an important one. It's been present recently for me. I can't remember. Maybe it will come back. But those are some of the shadow elements of the 11, so to speak.
Interesting.
That's helpful, Andrew.
Okay, so you notice that people abbreviate your name. So Katharine, you become Kat.
Yep.
Jeffrey is a Jeff, and you've just been calling Andrena Dream. So when you take those abbreviations and short names, I mean, how much of an impact does that have?
It can have a massive impact. And this is one of the reasons why I came back to Katharine, actually. Someone abbreviated my name when I was about 13, and I didn't know numerology and was bored with having to correct people who would misspell both my first name and my surname. And huge congrats and deep gratitude to you for spelling my name correctly, because so many people miss the second A. They spell it with an E. So I allowed my name to be abbreviated to Kat because I just thought, well, you know, the worst that can happen is it will be Kat with a C or versus Kat with a K, and I became Kat with a K. But what's interesting is Katharine Kinnie, the full frequency of that is a 77 frequency. My known name, this is what we would refer to as a known name, and Kat Kinnie is a 4. So I know and I feel the fundamental numerological and vibrational difference between Kat Kinnie and Katharine Kinnie, and even the difference between Kat and Katharine. I think Kat, I'm trying to remember what Kat is. See, I've kind of deleted. I know Katharine is a 6. I think Kat might be a 3, actually.
2, 1.
No, Kat's a 5. Kat's a 5. K is 2, A is 1, and T is 2. So Kat's a 5. So if we look at you, for example, so like Jeff, for example, so Jeff is a 9, and Jeffrey, Jeffrey, isn't it? That's Jeffrey. Correct. Yeah, Jeffrey is a 3. So they're quite different numbers. Yeah. And then if we look at Andrena, if we just look at the name Andrena, so Andrena is a 3. And how would you spell Drene?
Drene.
Drene. Okay, Drene.
Because I know, like my nieces call me Drene, and Carol calls me Drene.
Yeah,
a lot
see,
as
I'd
well.
spell it Drean for some reason, like dream.
Oh, would you?
Yeah. Right. So Drene, Drean, is a 6, and that's how I would spell it. But Drene, Drene, is a 1. And they're quite different. But then if we look at the known name, so if we look at the difference between Jeff Shaw, for example, this is a good question. So Jeff Shaw's a 33.
All right. Okay.
And what about when people add names? They bring in another name into
that happened to me. That happened to me. I just put myself here. So my Commonwealth Bank app I used to make a payment. It was the first time I had to make a payment using it. I used it to, when people rang me up and sent me a text to say they put money in, so I checked it. But I was with I went and had a meeting with a lady down the Gold Coast, and I gave her $200, and she said it's $280, so I had to make a payment $80. So half an hour later, I was walking up James Street in Burleigh Heads, right across next door to Commonwealth Bank, and boom, up comes a text to say from the Commonwealth Bank saying there's been irregular activity on your account. We've shut your account. If this is incorrect, click here. See. So I went back on, and of course, first time I've actually used the app, so I got it reactivated, and then it was a Sunday, and then Wednesday, I got another Commonwealth Bank text to say fraudulent activity on your account. Please check your account, and which I did. Then I saw this large sum of money taken out of my account, and the resulting thing was these people had. I went to the fraud squad of the Commonwealth Bank. They said the first one on the Sunday wasn't them. I said, I can't believe it. It's on the Commonwealth Bank app feed, So anyway, so they said no, that's fraudulent activity, and they're the ones who been in your phone system, and my phone's connected to the business, and they probably got identity theft. So I had to go and reset the phone back to its factory setting, and then I had to go and get another. I got another name and put it into my full name just to overcome the identity theft. So I had to get new driver's license and birth, death, and name, and all that stuff. Had to go through the whole scenario. So it's obviously changed the whole name in it by doing that.
Well, what did you change your name to?
No, I kept the same name. I kept the 3 names I was given, the first name and the middle name and the last name. So I gave myself another middle name.
So that would change your whole, well, it has the potential to change your blueprint.
Well, yeah, but then as all that, it was really to protect my identity after being hacked to that extent.
Yep. Yeah.
And the bottom line was the Commonwealth Bank put the money back in my account 5 days later. So
yeah,
you went through a lot of hullabaloo there just for protecting your name, isn't it? But I can understand when a woman changes a name to a married name, all the stuff they had to go through. I mean, I just had to go through that too with Medicare and bank accounts and stuff. It's quite an interesting change, isn't it?
Yeah. And fraud can be connected to the 8 frequency as well. So it's interesting that you've got an 8. I mean, it's not to say that it's unique for people with 8s, but it's interesting that you the 5 life path is change, and that, you know, the fraudulent activity prompted that change, which is connected to the 8, and your birth name, you're a 6 expression. So through going through that experience, you then, you know, got to see what people have to go through when they do change their name. And it was just interesting that fraudulent activity was the activator for that shift and that change. But yeah, it will potentially have given you, you know, a slightly different blueprint.
Right. So how long does that take to actually sit in and become part of your presence or your DNA? Was that instantaneously, or?
Well, it depends how aligned we are with the name.
Yeah.
So, and how present is in our lives. So whenever I give readings, so I give a reading always on the birth name, because that's connected to our Akashic records, and that's who we are when we arrive, so to speak. And then I will give a reading on the current name, the current known name. So, you know, if people have changed their names, especially significantly, if it is on official documentation, like a passport, a driver's license, you know, births, deaths, and marriages, you know, if it has been acknowledged in that way, then I will give a reading on that name and on that blueprint as well, because there's 2 blueprints at play. There will be your birth blueprint, you know, which is kind of like who we are naked, so to speak, you know, like our skeletal structure. And then there's, you know, the current name. There's the current name and the name that we go by. And that will be more front and center than the birth name. This one never goes away. It's always there. It's always present. There's always all the magic that comes from that. But there will be another blueprint that will be front and center. And really, you know, for me, the way I read is, you know, I will give information on both, and I'll be talking about how they'll be complementing one another and why that name change, for whatever reason, was prompted, and the role that that name and that blueprint is playing, actually, you know, for us at a soul level. Because, you know, whenever we change our name, there's always a reason. Sometimes it's conscious, sometimes it isn't. But when I read the blueprints and I hear people's stories, the numbers always explain, you know, why they're there and the role that they're playing. And, you know, with the blueprint versus the themes, like the life cycles and the turning points and the personal year, with the blueprint itself, this is front and center, and this is very present in our day-to-day reality. And, you know, the life path technically never changes because it's our date of birth. Although I have one client who someone made a mistake on their passport once, and it made them a year younger. So they kept their date of birth. And so he's the only person I've come across whose life path is different to the one that he was born with. But he's got 4s and 5s in his blueprint as well. So that's the 5, you know, it's like kind of like, you know, it's a very unexpected, difficult to kind of pin down energy. It's a frequency associated with change. But if we do change our name, it can affect our expression number, which is where our gifts, talents, and abilities lie. It can affect our heart's desire and soul's urge, which is what we're passionate about. It can affect the personality number, which is the role we're here to play, and potentially our soul's purpose. So we can end up with 2 purposes and, you know, 2 blueprints, so to speak. So I hope that answers the question, Jeff.
Yeah. So I was just wondering, energetically, you know, if you change your middle name energetically, does that count as well? Or
yes, 100%. That can affect your blueprint, because the 3 middle numbers are connected to our name. These 3 are connected to our name. Expression numbers, our entire name, so including middle names. The heart's desire and soul's urge is all the vowels, which includes middle names, and the personality is consonants. So yeah, if we change our middle name, it can affect our blueprint.
Because I know many years ago I had a session with somebody that does numbers, and she told me that my middle names, which I never use because they're really old and I don't like them, hence I never gave my children middle names, And she said, because I didn't have a L, I didn't have a P, I didn't have an H. She gave me some numbers, and she said, what you need to do is make a name out of those numbers, which I did do, but I did it energetically. I sort of did this like letting go.
Oh, that's gone now.
Just as she's saying letting go.
Should let go. Yeah, so my new numbers, when you add them all up, come to 112. So that'll be a 4 now. So gone from 5 to a 4.
For an expression number.
Went up the 4 names. Anyway, so Andrew Feezy's asked a question.
Do you know what influenced Pythagoras to become a cosmic mystic? Well, I actually feel that we'll come back to you in a minute, Dream, just answering Andrew's question. I mean, from where I sit, I would say he was destined. I would say he was probably destined for it. He was a curious truth seeker by nature. I don't know what his numerology is because I don't know his date of birth, but I could probably, and I don't know whether he had a surname either. He's a very, very enigmatic being, Pythagoras. Like, you know, lots of people don't know. There's no conclusion as to how he died or where he died or why he died. His birth was actually prophesied by the Oracle of Delphi, Pythia. His parents went to see her, and she prophesied his birth and prophesied that they would give birth to a very, very, very important being and an important man. Some people say that Jesus is the reincarnation of Pythagoras. Pythagoras was alive several hundred years before Jesus. I've come across several books that basically say that Jesus is the reincarnation of Pythagoras. But what I do know is that he was a curious truth seeker by nature. And, you know, one of the places that he was born in this island called Samos, in an area called Pythagoria, actually, which I think they've obviously named after him since. But he was drawn to Egypt. He was drawn to Egypt, and he went to Egypt and asked the mystics and the masters there for all of their knowledge and wisdom. And they said, you're not ready. You're not ready. You need to go away and you need to fast for 40 days and 40 nights. Sound familiar? And he did that, and he came back, and they gave him access to everything. And then once he'd received all this information from Egypt, he went to Italy. He was drawn to Italy. He knew he couldn't go back to Samos or Greece because I think the collective consciousness wasn't ready for what he was going to be teaching. He was drawn to Italy. Now, Italy is a 22 frequency numerologically based on the English language. I've always loved Italy. I've always been drawn to it. I couldn't understand why. I love Rome. Rome's a 2. I love Milan. Milan's a 22. So, you know, and the 22 frequency is the co-creation of heaven on earth. It's all about creating peace and harmony and balance. And I think I said this earlier. This is the ultimate reason that Pythagoras taught numerology and had his school of mathematics. Everything else was by the by. And he created that school in Crotone, and, you know, dedicated his life to teaching and sharing all the knowledge and wisdom that he had and he received. So I hope that answers your question, Andrew. It's a great question, by the way. Fantastic question. But yeah, going back to what you were saying, Dream.
Oh, yeah. No, I was going to say, I love Italy. I've been there 3 times as well. So I'm Rome. So, yeah. Anyway. Yeah, no, I was just saying about that. I changed my middle name, and we did a little certificate, and we did a little energetic. So I did it that way. You know, I thought I'm not doing passports and all of this malarkey. That, you know, that was how it was for me. I thought I'm not playing that game. So yeah. So I will add them up later.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't spoke about your sacred geometry very much, and so I think we must have you back for another time, because obviously it would be good to talk about relationships for people in numbers. And what was the other thing? And I know you talked about your vision through Uluru, so I don't know if you want to put that out on the airwaves at this moment in time.
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, I would be very happy to come back. And I mean, I can chat about numbers. You know me, for days and weeks and months and years, and never tire and never get bored. I think I could happily become a breatharian and just talk about numbers forever. I'll talk with anyone who wants to talk to me about numbers. And yeah, for me, the relationship side of things is fascinating. And yes, I would be really happy to talk to you more about geometry and that piece of sacred geometry that I received in 2020 that's connected to the 44 frequency. So I'd be really happy to talk to you guys about that, you know, in another time and space. And then, yeah, we were chatting yesterday about what came through on the solstice. So I was sharing a Facebook Live with many members of the New Earth Choir, and we've got 577 members of the New Earth Choir. It's so incredible. Yeah. And these are people all around the world that, you know, come together to sing song. Yes, absolutely. There you go, Andrew, the grid lines. We come together to sing up the song lines. We come together to activate the New Earth grid. And so, you know, I bring people together for the very significant Wheel of the Year celebration. So solstices, equinoxes, Lammas, Imbolc, Beltane, Samhain, but also significant planetary alignments, sometimes significant numerological days. And we come together to sing one song in particular, Kanyini, which is it's a word and a philosophy from the Anangu, who are the original indigenous custodians of Uluru and Katajuta in the central desert of Australia. And we sing this song that I received multidimensionally from Uncle Bob on the other side in December 2018. And he's asked me to spread and share that song with as many people as possible, and to invite as many people around the world who want to sing Kanyini and sing up the song lines with the message of Kanyini, the philosophy of Kanyini. And when we came together this solstice, I mean, we've been coming together. It really started to get strong in 2020. I actually birthed the New Earth Choir Facebook group in 2020 on the back of everyone coming together at Uluru and around the world to sing Kanyini for the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, which happened on the 12th of January 2020. But on the solstice, we were setting intentions, and I was sharing about an experience that Jared and I had at Arkarula Rock at Wilpena Pound, grid point 44 in March. And we were both talking about the people who were asking me at Uluru in January 2020 when we were all going to come together and hold hands around Uluru and sing Kanyini. And I said, well, I don't think we've got enough people in our group right now to do this. But, you know, and they said, well, we've seen it in the dreaming. We dreamt about it. We saw it. So I know that, well, theoretically, it's already happened if they've already seen it. And so, yeah, Jared and I were talking about it in March, but it was this solstice. And we're in a 3 universal month, and the 3 is all about song and, you know, music and sound and self-expression and creativity. And it's a big throat chakra frequency numerologically. And we were setting intentions, and I told this story. And then people started saying, well, why don't we come together in December? Why don't we come together for December solstice at Uluru to sing Kanyini and all hold hands around Uluru? And I said, well, that could be a really awesome year, an awesome way to end the year, because it's a 6 universal year. It's all about community, soul family, ceremony coming together. And December will be a 9-month. And the 9 is the frequency of Kanyini and unconditional love. And someone else, Adina, was like, well, I've always wanted to come to Australia. And I'm like, well, maybe we set the intention that we those of us that want to come together. And Jared did a bit of math when we were at Wilpena Pound, and he said, I think we probably need about 5,000 people. So, you know, it takes 4 hours to walk around the rock. So, you know, maybe that's what's meant to happen. I mean, as you know, and both of you will know, none of us are in charge. You know, there's free will and there's divine will. And really, generally, all we need to do is get out of the way, because most of the time we're just flesh puppeting around, and, you know, the divine has, you know, access to the plan. Our higher selves have access to the plan. So I guess if 5,000 of us are meant to come together and all hold hands and sing Canini at the December solstice 2022, I'll be there. I will be there, happily be there. If that's what people want to do, game on, I say.
Yeah, put it out there, and it's out on the airwaves. So
yeah,
and like you say, it's already happened, so it's bringing it into reality, isn't it?
That's it. If, you know, when we see things in the dreaming, you know, especially future timelines, we're tapping into potential timelines. So yeah, I always trust, you know, if someone shares something with me or a dream, you know, especially if it's something sacred or connected to something very special or indigenous, I always pay attention and I always listen, because they've got access to something that I haven't even seen yet. So
Yeah.
and, you know, Canini has a life of its own. It's almost like a child to an extent. You know, I'm like the mama and the custodian of it, but like if it wants to go to Uluru and bring everyone together, then, you know.
Yeah, we'll have to get you the link put on the for people to sing along with you. So have you got any more cosmic, so for people that would like to start learning about numbers, have you got any courses coming up?
Well, I just completed the course live, but it was a Zoom course and we recorded it. And I've just launched a 48-hour special offer of only $88. You'll like this one, Jeff.
There you are, Jeffrey.
It was 222 when it was, you know, for everyone that wanted to join me live. But I've decided to put a special offer out just for 48 hours until the end of tomorrow, the 24th of June, for anyone that would like access to the course, 4 2-hour Zoom classes and a PDF manual. The course price will go up after then, but that's live right now for anyone that wants to. And someone asked about a book. The manual is probably the closest thing to a book that anyone could access. So that course is live and people can access it and study it at their own pace right now. And I'm also going to be launching probably next week the Cosmic Numerology All-Stars and study groups. So these are for people that have studied either level 1 or level 1 and level 2. And they will be weekly Zoom classes or study groups that will be at least an hour or something, maybe an hour and a half, we'll see, for people that want to practice and that have questions and want access to me. So the prerequisite is that everyone's done at least level 1. But yeah, I'll be creating the space across time zones. So there'll be times that are good for people in Australia and New Zealand and the US and the UK. There'll be at least 2 study groups a week. And I'll be launching those next week. And they're going to be priced in a way that's easy for people to, you know, afford. And in time, there will be a membership as well. So, you know, for people that want to pay a monthly membership, they'll get even better prices and access to extra things. It's basically for people that just want to really dive into the numbers, have access to me and practice. Because for me, it's about the practice and the embodiment of the numbers. We can learn it all, but then it's like, how do we weave it in our day-to-day life? How do we use it with the addresses, understanding ourselves and our loved ones, understanding the number synchronicities, receiving the messages, and how can we manifest with them as well? You know, we can use numbers to manifest and to dream weave as well. And that's super fun.
Yeah. Well, brilliant. Have you got anything else you want to ask Jeffrey?
No, thank you.
No. Well, no, that was brilliant. I mean, it's answered so much, and I know people can go back and play and listen and make notes, and the offer of 88 is a brilliant offer, because I know I did part 1 with you years ago, and it's probably, that manual's probably changed quite a bit from where you are now, but yeah, so So we'll put your links for your Kinnie singing the song and your special offer, and people can obviously get in contact with you. So it's been lovely. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing your beautiful knowledge and wisdom.
My absolute pleasure, Andrena. It's so lovely to be here with you both, and just such a joy to talk numbers, and such a joy to, you know, receive all these beautiful messages and questions from everyone who's been watching live, and anyone that's watching on the replay as well. If you do have questions, put them in the comments. I always come back and read them. And, you know, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to send me a private message through Facebook or contact me through my website. You know, I'll be happy to help and support anyone that wants to know more about numerology. My joy.
I can take these off in a minute.
Well,
thank you very much.
That was a number 9. That was a completion.
It was.
Now we know what.
And I got number 9 tomorrow, haven't I?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Have a beautiful day, afternoon, evening.
Yeah. All right.